Wait, did Jim Jones really just try to put himself in the same breath as Nas? Nas, the man who gave us Illmatic, who birthed an entire generation of lyricists with one verse. Somebody grabbed the smelling salts because Jimmy Mitov, actually, lost his mind on IG Live. Harlem. Come collect your man, he's out here comparing his catalog of weather reports too. NASA's lyrical scriptures like it's a fair fight. And now Jadakiss and Styles P are tag teaming on him like it's Summer Jam 2001 all over again. You can't make this up. But hold up, how did we get here? How did Dipset's Weatherman turn into hip-hop's biggest headline for all the wrong reasons? What was meant to be a troll move turned into a cultural beatdown. And guess what? Streets, the legends, and the timeline ain't letting it slide. We're talking smoke from Yonkers, fire from fans, and pure chaos in the comment sections. And trust us, it's only getting messier. So grab your popcorn, charge your phone, and buckle the hell up. Because what Styles P and Jadakiss just did to Jim Jones, that wasn't just lyrical shade, that was surgical humiliation. Let's get into it. Let's be very clear. This didn't start with just a casual comment or playful jab. No, this was full-blown audacity in its rawest form. It's the kind that only Jim Jones could deliver with a straight face while the entire internet clutches its pearls in disbelief. Imagine waking up one morning and hearing that Jim Jones, yes, that Jim Jones, decided to publicly downplay NASA's legendary status and insinuate that he himself was not only more relevant, but somehow more impactful in the current rap scene. It was the kind of statement that didn't just raise eyebrows at dislocated jaws. Social media detonated within minutes. Clips went viral, blogs went manic, and fans across generations collectively asked, "Is Jimmy okay?" But see, this wasn't just your usual clout-chasing moment. This was a calculated risk, a desperate attempt to inject life into a rap career that's been running on nostalgia and ad-libs for over a decade. Jim wasn't just speaking recklessly, he was drawing a line in the sand. Unfortunately for him, that line was already washed away by the lyrical tidal wave that came next, because right after he mouthed off, the big dogs from Yonkers, Jadakiss, and Styles P emerged from the shadows like lyrical assassins with decades of bars in their back pockets, and they were not amused. Let's just say the silence from Nas wasn't absent sit, was royalty choosing not to address the jester. But Jadakiss, Styles P, they weren't about to let the disrespect slide. In true Locks fashion, they came for blood, armed with surgical precision and bars that hit like uppercuts. And when they spoke, the industry listened. Not just because they're legends in their own right, but because they represent something Jim clearly forgot: authenticity, discipline, and respect for the craft. Styles P was the first to fire shots, jumping on IG Live and essentially calling Jim out for overstepping, for mistaking relevancy with visibility, for confusing going viral with being vital. His words weren't flashy, they were facts. He broke it down like a hip-hop elder schooling the loudest kid in the room, reminding Jimmy and everyone watching that this game isn't about gimmicks. It's about the body of work, the consistency, the bars. And when Jadakiss co-signed it, you knew it was real. Kiss, with that unmistakable raspy voice and Bronx battle-tested demeanor, didn't need to say much, just a few jabs in that classic laid-back tone that hit harder than most diss tracks. He didn't clown Jim, he buried him under years of credibility. And the fans, they ate it up. The comments were merciless. Jim Jones really compared himself to Nas, like he ain't been rapping like a broke supervillain for 15 years. One user wrote. Another said, "This is why the Locks mopped the floor with Dipset at Versus. They live this. Jimmy performs this." And that right there was the key difference. Jadakiss and Styles P weren't just defending Nas, they were defending the culture, the foundation. 'Cause whether you like Nas or not, you can't deny what he means to hip-hop. He's not just a rapper, he's an architect. a poet, a prophet. And Jim, bless his heart, thought he could write a few viral moments and club singles into a debate he had no business entering. It would have been one thing if Jim had framed his statement as personal opinion, even ambition. But no, he positioned it as fact, as if the charts, accolades, and cultural weight behind Nas didn't exist. That's what made this so absurd. That's what made Jadakiss and Styles P step up. And here's the real kicker. Jim Jones knew exactly what he was doing. You could see it in his smirk, in his IG captions, in the way he baited the internet. This wasn't a slip-up, this was strategy. Clout is currency now, and Jimmy wanted to go viral. He wanted smoke because smoke equals clicks. But what he didn't calculate was the backlash hitting harder than any buzz he could have manufactured. Now the narrative isn't Jim Jones is still relevant, it's Jim Jones just disrespected a hip-hop titan and got cooked by legends who actually earned their stripes. And let's not pretend like this is new behavior. Jim has always walked that line between confidence and delusion, whether it was versus, interviews, or Instagram antics. He's leaned into that chaotic energy that sometimes works in entertainment but rarely holds up under scrutiny. And this time, scrutiny came with lyrical daggers. It's almost poetic, in a twisted way. Jim tried to elevate himself by tearing down a pillar of the culture, and all he did was remind everyone why he's not in that league. Because if you have to say you're more relevant than Nas, chances are you're not. And now, even those who are on the fence about Jim are stepping back, wondering what kind of echo chamber he's living in where that statement made sense. He poked the bear, and now the wolves are circling. Jadakiss and Styles P didn't just defend Nas, they reminded the world who the real voices of the streets are. They didn't need gimmicks. They didn't need IG lives. They just needed their voice, their platform, and the truth. And that truth has now spread like wildfire across social media, in barbershops, on blogs, and in every dusty basement studio, where real hip-hop still lives. Jim wanted attention. Well, congratulations, he got it, but not the kind he hoped for. This wasn't validation. This was humiliation wrapped in boom-bap beats and verbal ether. This was a public schooling from professors of pain. And it only got worse from here. What happened next was nothing short of lyrical assassination dressed in a Yankee fitted in Timberlands. Jadakiss didn't even flinch. He simply stepped into the booth, dropped his shades, and let loose with the kind of surgical bars that didn't just clap back. They buried Jim Jones 6 feet deep next to whatever credibility he had left in the culture. And Styles P. Oh, he didn't come to rap. He came to haunt. The moment Styles P hopped on that mic, the energy shifted like we were watching an old-school Smack DVD battle where the crowd was ready to jump in and scream every time a punchline hit too hard. Together, the Locks didn't respond with clout chasing, antics, or Instagram stories filled with subliminals. They went to work with pens, pads, and pure venom. They dropped bars that referenced Jones' shaky street credibility, his constant need to be seen, and his inability to accept the fact that he's simply not built like that, musically or lyrically. You could almost hear the silence coming from Jim's camp, like someone unplugged the router and canceled the studio session. The streets were talking, the blogs were echoing, and the fans were foaming at the mouth. It was open season on Jim Jones' rap delusion. Social media erupted with reaction videos, meme storms, and Twitter threads that read more like obituaries than commentary. Jim Jones beefing with Nas is like a water gun trying to drown an ocean. One user posted, it got retweeted over 80,000 times in under 24 hours. But it wasn't just the internet having a field day. Hip-hop insiders started chiming in with behind-the-scenes stories that only added gasoline to the blaze. An anonymous source close to Nas claimed that when he first heard Jim's comments, he thought it was a parody. Nas literally laughed. The source alleged he thought someone was joking until he saw the clip himself. Then he just shook his head and kept recording his next album. Meanwhile, rumors started swirling that Jones tried to reach out privately to Jadakiss to talk man to man, but was met with straight-up silence. No response. Just ghosted like an unpaid feature request. Even Kamran, Jim's own longtime friend and Dipset partner, was suspiciously quiet. No tweets. No IG posts. Just radio silence. And you already know what that means in this game when your own crew won't publicly back you. You've officially gone rogue. As if that weren't enough, someone leaked a private voice note allegedly from a studio session where Jim is heard, ranting about how the game's rigged against Harlem and how he's the underdog people love to hate. But the real kicker, he ends the clip saying, "Nas old, he can't come back from this." Sir Nas just dropped 5 albums in 3 years. One of them with Hit Boy that got universal acclaim. It's cool. And you out here struggling to break 100K streams without a viral dance? Sit down and let's not forget how the corporate side responded. Rumors began to swirl that several major hip-hop podcasts and platforms started pulling back on booking Jim for interviews. According to a leaked itinerary from a media PR agency, 2 scheduled podcast appearances were postponed indefinitely due to potential backlash. Translation: ain't nobody trying to get dragged down into that verbal grave Jim dug for himself? Meanwhile, Nas Camp reportedly turned down 3 different interview requests on the topic. Why? Because real kings don't entertain clowns, they just keep winning. Styles P, in a now viral live stream, delivered the most cutting commentary of all, saying, "We didn't even try hard. That's what's crazy. That wasn't even a full clip. We gave him a head start and he still tripped over his own ego." Fans were calling it the funeral freestyle, and honestly, that's exactly what it was. You don't come at living legends with hollow bars and half-baked confidence thinking your Instagram stories give you clout. Hip-hop is built on respect, lyricism, and legacy, not Wi-Fi signals and filters. And somewhere in Harlem, Jim was either still trying to figure out where it all went wrong or trying to convince himself that silence is a strategy, not a surrender. Either way, the damage was already done. But just when everyone thought the dust had finally settled and the smoke cleared, the drama escalated again, and this time, it wasn't just about music. It became personal, emotional, and borderline tragic. Behind the scenes, whispers started, spreading that Jim Jones wasn't just licking his lyrical wounds, he was unraveling. Insiders claimed he felt betrayed, humiliated, and cornered. Not just by the hip-hop community, but by the very people he thought were riding with him. Reports suggested that Jim had been sending out feelers to PR teams and podcast hosts, trying to control the narrative, desperate to find a lifeline before his reputation sank any deeper. But the problem was, every move he made just made things worse. He allegedly attempted to stage a surprise drop-a-diss track aimed at Nas Jadakiss and Styles P, but the execution was so sloppy that even his die-hard fans couldn't defend it. The production felt rushed, the bars were weak, and the energy was forced. What was supposed to be a redemption anthem turned into another viral meme moment, with Twitter roasting him mercilessly for rhyming Illmatic with real, tragic in a way that had even middle school rap battles sounding more inspired. And while Jim was busy crashing and burning, Nas was gliding above the chaos, quiet and unbothered, occasionally posting cryptic photos of studio sessions with producers 10 years his junior, reminding everyone why his pen is untouchable. Even his silence felt like a flex when a man doesn't need to respond. It means your voice never reached his level in the first place. Meanwhile, Dipset's unity looked like it was cracking too. Cameron finally addressed the situation subtly during a live stream, and while he didn't name names, the shade was unmistakable. "Some folks forget who taught them how to play the game," Cam said, sipping tea and smirking at the camera. Fans instantly connected the dots. Was this Cam's way of saying he was done cleaning up Jim's messes? People close to the crew claimed that internal tensions were reaching a boiling point. with private meetings turning into heated arguments about legacy, loyalty, and public embarrassment. The timing couldn't have been worse because Dipset was supposed to be planning a 20-year reunion tour, but now the promoters were reportedly getting nervous. Sponsors allegedly began pulling out, citing brand image concerns, and ticket sales dipped as fans debated whether the drama would overshadow the music. Behind the curtains, industry veterans were quietly weighing in, many stating that Jim had crossed an invisible line, one that most in the game instinctively know not to approach. You don't come for Nas unless your pen game is surgically lethal and your catalog is armored. And Jim, despite having street respect and Dipset legacy, simply didn't have the lyrical artillery to make this a fair fight. What made it all worse was the avalanche of commentary from younger artists watching this all unfold. Rappers in their early 20s were hitting interviews saying things like, "Jim Wilden for real." And imagine coming for Nas when you ain't even the best in your own crew. That stung. That was generational rejection, Gen Z putting the final nail in a coffin that had already been sealed by the legends. And then came the biggest blow, a leaked audio clip from a supposed phone call between two high-profile music execs discussing Jim's current standing in the industry. In the clip, one voice is heard saying, "He burned bridges with that move. Nobody's trying to align with that energy right now." The other replies, "It's giving desperation, not strategy. He should have sat this one out." Within hours, blogs had picked it up. Fans were dissecting every syllable. And Jim's name became synonymous with self-sabotage. Even his attempts to do damage control in follow-up interviews backfired. One infamous sit-down saw him trying to justify his Nas comments by claiming, "I was just trying to spark competition, it's hip-hop." But his delivery was shaky, and the host looked visibly unconvinced. By the end of the interview, Jim seemed more like a man pleading for understanding than an artist standing on principle. In contrast, the Locks capitalized on the moment without even trying. They announced a surprise freestyle session on a local NYC radio station, and within minutes, Jadakiss was back at it, dropping lines that fans immediately linked back to Jim without even mentioning his name. "Don't argue with fools, they'll drag you down, then blame you for the dirt," he spat, and Twitter exploded. That one bar felt like a closing chapter, a final verdict delivered with poetic justice. The streets heard it. The blogs confirmed it, the fans stamped it. Jim Jones had taken a swing at a giant and ended up falling on his own sword. All while the legends walked away without a scratch. If you've been riding this wave of drama and jaw-dropping revelations with us, then you already know this isn't just hip-hop beef. It's history in the making. But don't just sit back and watch it unfold. Get in the mix. Hit that like button if you're shocked by how deep this feud has gone. Drop a comment below and let us know, do you think Jim Jones went too far? Or was he just keeping that competitive spirit alive? Whose side are you on? Team Jones, Team Nas, or are you here just for the chaos? And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe because the tea isn't stopping here. More footage, more confessions, and more behind-the-scenes fallout is coming. And trust us, you don't want to miss a single twist. Tap that notification bell so you're the first to know when the next bombshell drops. This is where music, legacy, and betrayal collide, and we're just getting started. Keep watching, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep that same energy in the comments. We're watching everything, and the next episode might just blow the lid off everything you said. Thought you knew. Stay locked in, because the truth is getting louder.